Because there they were, just some humble shepherds sitting on the hillside looking after their sheep. These weren't super shepherds. These weren't the best shepherds ever. These were just regular, normal shepherds minding their business. Why did they suddenly see a visitation of an angel? Because that's something that doesn't happen very often. That's something that none of these men would have experienced before. Suddenly there is an angel above them, and not only one angel, but the whole heavenly host declaring the praises of God. And they are doing amazing things. And these men can't believe what they're seeing. And what the angel is saying is that there is a message of good news, because this day in Bethlehem, a Saviour has been born to them. Why did these shepherds receive such an amazing thing? Well, I think the first thing is that they were lowly and humble. These were not special people. If you think about it, no Pharisee got a visitation from an angel, no teacher of the law, no scribe, nobody who worked in a royal household. But God's message was for lowly, humble people. We spoke the other day about how Jesus gave that invitation to all who were weary and burdened, not all those who have their act together. He says, "Come to me." And the reason he says it is because he said, "I am gentle and humble in heart." He is a gentle, humble Saviour who deals with gentle and humble people. He's not looking for the brash, for the proud, for those who exalt themselves. He's looking for regular people. The second thing about these shepherds, I believe, is that they were waiting for a Saviour. Now, that might sound obvious, but not everybody is waiting for a Saviour. When the angels announced, "This day is born to you a Saviour in the town of David," they didn't say, "We don't know what you're talking about. This is crazy talk. Why will you be telling us this?" They were waiting for a Saviour. These were people who had it upon their hearts that they needed something happening to their life. They needed to be rescued. They needed that burden lifted from them. And the joy that they had in knowing that the Saviour had finally come was wonderful news to them. These were men who were waiting for the day that God would send his deliverance. The third thing about these men that was so wonderful is that they responded when the message came. You know, it's one thing to be waiting for a Saviour, to be aware of our sin, to know that we need something happening in our life. It's another thing altogether to respond when God touches us, when he speaks into our heart. But these men could have had all kinds of excuses. When the angel said, "Go into Bethlehem and seek for the child who is born in a manger," they could have said, "Well, what now?" They could have said, "Look, we're all settled in for the night. You know, can't we wait till the morning?" They could have said, "We can't possibly leave our sheep here on the hillside." They could have said, "Look, there's countless stables and caves in Bethlehem, and you're expecting us to wander around every single one of them until we find a baby in a manger? Can't you give us some more instructions?" They didn't say any of that. With great joy, they immediately left their sheep, they went into the town, and they searched diligently until they found exactly what the angel had said. You see, God will give us a prompting sometimes, but then he requires us to do our part as well, to respond in faith. And so these men went into the town and they found the baby. Here they are going into the town of Bethlehem. And as they wandered around, it didn't take long. Well, we don't know how long it took, but they didn't give up until they found what the angel said. And there they found the baby in the manger in swaddling clothes, just as the angel had told them. But here's the fourth thing I think God was interested in these shepherds. God has a high regard for shepherds when most other people don't. You know, nobody holds up shepherds as being very important people, but God does. In fact, he sees it as a really important job. Two of the greatest leaders of Israel, who were Moses and David, were both spent their formative years as shepherds, learning what it meant to be a shepherd for the sheep. And I think God is saying to these men, you are the important ones. You are the ones that I want to come and witness what's going on here today. You know, Jesus himself, doesn't he say, "I am the good shepherd. I am the shepherd for the sheep. The sheep hear my voice and they listen to me." God is interested in shepherds. And I love the verse that's given to us in Micah, which was repeated again in Matthew chapter 2. "But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." If Jesus was to be the great shepherd, Doesn't it make sense that he showed himself to shepherds who would understand that first? Why did Jesus speak to these shepherds? Why were the angels giving that message to these people? It's the same reason why God might speak to us. First of all, he's looking for people who are lowly and humble in their hearts. He's looking for people who understand their sin, who are desperate for a Saviour to come. He's looking for people who, when they understand what Jesus has done and why he's come, will respond, will get up and will search diligently until they find for themselves the Saviour who not only has come, but who can deliver them from their sins. And that's God's message to us today. God has sent his Saviour that we might take advantage of it and that we might trust in who he has given us.